fully redesigned version of the ES, a luxury sedan that's kind of known for being popular with an older crowd who likes things very comfortable and very familiar. Well, that's changing a bit with this new one, which has a striking new look and a lot of other upgrades. ES has never been a car that would change things up and have a striking design. It's always been staid and conservative and comfortable, but this new model definitely changes that. Probably the biggest quirk of the styling is this funky line down the side. It sort of starts in the front door and then kind of goes horizontal down the side and then curves again near the back of the car. It's definitely kind of a weird, funky, attention-grabbing look. And see quite a few. For one, these sort of aggressively angled black panels that are the contrasting color to the car itself kind of gives it a distinctive, aggressive look up front. And then you have this sort of fading diamond pattern going from the center and then out with these 3 rows of diamonds, which is kind of odd and kind of an attempt to connect the front look of this car with Lexus's traditional spindle grille. It's sort of a strange way to do it. On the hood itself, you also have some funky lines, not just your regular sort of sloping hood. You have some creases in here that give some angles, almost like a toned down Lotus Emira. And in back, things are even crazier. You have some real sculpted lines back here, some aggressive cuts and angles, and the weirdest part is that the turn signals are down here, integrated into the bumper and kind of this odd lighting assembly area that you wouldn't really expect to see, especially with this kind of sculpted severe angle. They expect to be around 80% of total sales for the new ES. Unfortunately, it's a 4-cylinder hybrid with under 250 to reveal cup holders, and you also have a full center console here, a little storage compartment with a lid that can open both ways like magic. Driver or passenger can open the lid to suit their convenience, which is nice. You also have a row of buttons and switches here, including the all-important traction control off switch, just in case you're in your ES stack and they're kind of odd. They're labeled here, as you can see, like they would be buttons, but they're just sort of part of this trim piece. And you can press them like a button, but they're not really buttons, even though they do things like buttons do. It's sort of a weird kind of high-tech modern trick, and actually it looks and feels pretty cool. Instead of just sort of ugly buttons here, the integrated icons into the center console. You'll notice you have the same thing to the left of the steering wheel. Also, these sort of integrated button pads on this, again, traditional buttons. You have these leather pads with the button icons sort of backlit telling you what they do, which is kind of a quirky look and an interesting feel. But the controls both the volume and next track and previous track for the stereo. Strangely, when you move the switch, it moves both sides, and yet somehow it knows what you're trying to adjust. So if you move the volume side of the switch, you can see the whole switch moves, but only the volume changes. If you move the track side of the switch, again, the whole switch moves, including the volume side, but the car happens to know that you're trying to change.
Really wonderful safety feature that really adds visibility around the car, even if you have passengers or a small rear window. Is this
buttons, but instead it's this sort of pad where you just press sort of in the vicinity of the icon where you want that thing to happen, opening the sunroof, the sunshade, etc., and that's what it does. No regular switch or button. Really underscores the sort of more futuristic direction this car is taking. It really is big, dominating this entire center dashboard area, but it's also really easy to use. It's intuitive. All the buttons and controls are large, obviously high res. The cameras are good. Everything about this infotainment system is easy. Kind of a cleaner dashboard look once the car is off. Again, feels very modern and high tech. As for the gauge cluster, your other big screen in this interior, I would say that it's fine. Toyota gauge clusters are improving in terms of their configurability. In this one, you can make some good adjustments to the center part of this gauge screen, including showing a big full screen map, which I love to see there. But I still think that it's absolutely wild that you cannot adjust what's being shown on the outer thirds of this gauge screen. These screens are fixed in place and you can't change them to show like music in one screen while you have the map gap in the commanding and taller on the road like an SUV. And I have to say, driving this car around for a little while, it really does feel taller than traditional sedans of the past. It has to really drive home the point of what this is. The other interesting thing is the door handle. You don't have like a traditional open the door. Instead, you push on this panel and it electronically pops the door open, and then you there's this sort of unusual door handle design, but actually normal door handle, and there is once again an electronic popper button there. You pull on it, pause, and mention an important detail about the new ES. It is significantly longer than the outgoing model, and about 200 ports for charging devices back here, which is nice to have. Drawback, though, is that you don't have any storage compartment back here. There's not one on the back of the center console, even though it looks like there would have been space for it, and you don't even have storage in the armrest that folds down in the middle. Again, looks like there's space, but they didn't put it back there. Of course, you do have a little bit of a storage compartment in the door pocket, not quite as big as the one up front, but big enough for some stuff, which is nice to see. But you don't have any cup holders in the door pocket, which is disappointing because they pop out. They're very nice, very easy, but the drawback there is you have to choose between a rear center passenger and cup holders. If you have a car by 6-7 inches, you're going to give it a bigger trunk. And indeed, it has a shot. If you're coming home from the grocery store with a gallon of milk, you can hook it on there so it won't just roll around in the trunk, which is nice. And there's a small compartment under there where you can put stuff, horns. It is definitely a little bit strange.